Okay, so we're back together. We're going through John chapter 6 when the disciples were in a storm, and we're back in my office. I sit in front of these books like every pastor does to try to make themselves look smarter than they really are, right? There's nothing more pastoral than sitting in front of a bookshelf. But really, what's most important is what you're going through, what we're all going through together right now. And so we're going to the scriptures to kind of get perspective on this. Back in 1999, JFK Jr. and his wife, 𝙁𝙤𝙘𝙪𝙨𝙞, and were in an airplane crash. He had trained to be a pilot, but his training was by sight, not by instrument panels. And while I'm not a pilot, pilots tell me that that is a really big distinction. Are you trained to fly by what you see or what the instruments in front of you tell you? And so he's flying off the East Coast, and there's a huge storm that comes up, and he can't see. And he thinks he's doing the right thing because he's looking around at his environment, but instead of taking the plane higher in the air, he crashes it in the ocean. And in a sense, what a storm does is it causes you to think through, okay, in my life, what guides me? My sense of intuition, how I look around and what seems right to me, or the panels. And I guess the instrument panels in our life right now would be scripture, would be what God says to us in the Bible. And that is what we have to train ourselves to do, to not look at things around us, but instead to listen to God so that we can get truth. So we're back in John 6, kind of reorienting ourselves around God's truth, God's perspective. And what we find is that when Jesus sends the disciples out in the boat and the storm comes, this storm that wasn't a complete surprise in the sense that because of the geography, because of the mountains around the Sea of Galilee, these storms came every once in a while. They came at a certain time of day, and Jesus knew that this was kind of the storm time, and he sent them out anyway into it. In other words, the fact that they were in this storm on the lake wasn't an accident, and the fact that we're in this storm right now isn't an accident either. God has us where he wants us. God is teaching us. He's doing something. We can't always be sure what that is, but there's no need to fear because he's in control. So they're in this storm. They're scared to death for their life. And what happens is that Jesus walks out to them. He walks on the water to them. Now think about it, because these miracles in John are called signs because they point us to something bigger than themselves. And here Jesus is walking on the water. What's that supposed to point us to? Well, I think at least one thing we can take from that is that Jesus is showing that he is sovereign over the very thing, the seas, that are causing them the problem. Do you get it? What are they scared of? They're scared of the water and the storm. And what does Jesus do? He walks out on stormy water to them to say to them, I'm in control of this. There's nothing that is happening in your life right now that I am not in control of. And I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you in the middle of the storm. And right now, it might be good for us just to remember health, viruses, economic conditions, government, whatever it is. Jesus is sovereign over that. All the things that are scaring you right now, Jesus is sovereign over those things. If they were water, he would be walking on them. And there's this quote by Corrie ten Boom. You might remember that she was the woman in World War II in Germany who was hiding these Jews who are fleeing the Nazi regime. And she says something, I just want to read it because I think it's so good. So this is after World War II, when she was kind of on the speaking circuit. She was talking about reflecting back on the challenges that she faced, again, hiding from Jews from the Nazis and on the run and finally in concentration camps herself. She says, when I worry, I go to the mirror and say to myself, this tremendous thing, which is worrying me, is beyond a solution. It is especially too hard for Jesus Christ to handle. She said after that, she laughs and feels ashamed. The whole point is that there's nothing that is too great for Jesus to handle. And when we worry about it, it's because somehow we think maybe we're in control. And if you and I are in control of this, then there's plenty of things to be panicked about. but we're not. And we have to go back and remind ourselves that it's God is in control, not us. And our peace doesn't come from us figuring out the solution. The peace comes from God who loves us, Him being in charge. So sometimes worry comes from an overinflated view of ourselves. And sometimes the best thing that we can do is to say, I'm in over my head. I can't handle this. This is far beyond me. But it's not far beyond Jesus. It's not far beyond the King of Kings. It's not far beyond the one who walks on water. No, nothing is too difficult for Him. So today, put your hope in Jesus, who is sovereign over this crisis and everything else, big or small, in your life that worries you. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, I can't handle this, but Jesus can. See you tomorrow.